Hello, everybody. I'm Candid Frank Stanisci of Candid Frank Live. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Now on Candid Frank Live, joining me as usual, Aaron William Freeland. Hello, Aaron.
How are you today, Frank?
You just told me some really terrible news. I'm very disappointed, and you won't be at the Argo game on Friday.
Unfortunately, yes, I am taking care of my health by playing hockey. You know, as one does.
I like that. If only they played the old way, then you wouldn't be taking care of your health. Yeah, I believe it. That was a bit of sarcastic laughter. I was trying to be funny. I know I failed. Let's start at the beginning, and we were just off the air a minute ago. The Raptors, the Leafs, they're expecting full capacity at Scotiabank Arena this season. Right now, though, they're going to start at 1,000. You're telling me?
That's correct. I'd heard 1,000 people per preseason game, so it's not that much of a disaster, but
not yet. It may not be. The Arizona Coyotes going full Kachina.
Yes, this is good news for nostalgia fans. The Arizona Coyotes are looking to go back to their original jerseys. So that old stylized peyote-induced hallucination coyote with the half skull, they're bringing that back full time.
Okay. Everything new is old again. Or is it everything old is new again?
Something like that, yeah.
One of those, anyway. Red Wings rookie hospitalized after taking brutal hit in prospects tournament. What happened there, Aaron?
Well, this is one of those things you never expect it to happen, obviously. The Red Wings and the Blue Jackets are playing a prospect game in Traverse City, Michigan on Sunday. And unfortunately, Jared McIsaac and Columbus center James Malatesta were going heavy into a puck battle behind the goal, and McIsaac got slammed into the glass head first and was knocked out cold. So he had to be stretchered off and was rushed to a local hospital. It looked like a pretty bad hit. There's some video that's out there. The Columbus Blue Jackets ended up winning 7-3, but to have somebody hurt like that in a prospect game kind of is, it's unfortunate. It's not something you ever want to have happen.
Absolutely not. Hockey players are always under physical stress. There's other stresses, too, that hockey players have to deal with. And Jonathan Drouin has decided to come back and has been battling anxiety and insomnia.
So this was a big thing at the tail end of last season. Because he took a leave of absence shortly before the playoffs began. And the reason why is because he was dealing with a whole series of mental health issues, specifically anxiety and insomnia. He had it for apparently many years before he hit a bit of an emotional wall, and he decided to step back after a trip out west that caused him additional issues. They played 3 games in Calgary that particular road trip, and he had missed all 3 of them because he wasn't feeling well. And he thought it was a time to take a step back and get some help and reassess. And I mean, he's 26 years old. So he wanted to make sure that he tried to get this out of the way before continuing, because he's still got a goodly career ahead of him. So Absolutely. This isn't the end by any means, but he does expect to be back with the Canadiens for training camp.
Wish him the luck. To finish the triumvirate of athletic endeavor and basically the trials and tribulations of athletes. We talked about physical health, we talked about emotional health, and now we talk about being able to continue to play at a pace that you are accustomed to. Pierre-Luc Dubois, Columbus Blue Jacket, former Columbus Blue Jacket, Winnipeg Jet at this time, has let's just say that last season when he was traded to Winnipeg, he didn't quite play the way everyone had hoped.
No, and it wasn't easy for him last year. He had to navigate multiple quarantines, his feud with John Tortorella, his trade for Patrick Laine 3 games into the season, injuries, isolation from family and friends, being in a foreign country, well, different country from where where he'd established himself. It was obvious that he was never fully comfortable with where he was and how he was doing. So the fact that he's had an opportunity to take the summer off, he's back to his normal self, he says. So he's looking forward to the upcoming season, and says that he's back to feeling like himself.
Not part of the triumvirate, but maybe it should be. Then there's the situation where disappointment is something that is hard to overcome. Leafs, Matthews, and Marner focused on the present following another playoff disaster. Tell us all about it.
So, basically, at the end of the last year, things weren't sitting well. Not with the fans and not with the players. They had obviously expected to be doing better than they had. First round exits are obviously never fun for anyone, whether it's the team financially or the players themselves. But they had a bit of a setback, and I know that they took some time to travel with each other to sort of try to refocus themselves.
Or when you're favored.
Well, exactly.
Or when you're favored. Yeah, it's not a good thing. Well, this is disappointing news. One of my favorite play-by-play guys is calling it a day, I guess, as far as he's retiring from the CBC Hockey Night in Canada broadcast. Is he retiring completely?
According to the information we have here, he is actually retiring. And so he's ending a 42-year career in the sports broadcast industry. Sportsnet announced that he was going to be fully stepping away from it. There are apparently many different factors going into this. One is the amount of time. 2 is his unwillingness, apparently, and this is strictly rumor, conjecture, that he was unwilling to commute from Vancouver to Toronto in order to do this sort of thing, in addition to not wanting to be vaccinated. So there are several different layers here that are factoring into his retirement. As to what is actually true, until Houston himself comes out and gives us a statement, we may never know. But there is now more space in the market for someone else to step up. Rumor is Todd Crocker will be doing it because he's been calling games during the prospect games that they've been having on Leafs TV. So we'll see what comes of that.
Well, I mean, they've got CC, Chris Cuthbert.
Yep.
And he left TSN specifically to call hockey games, and he had the opportunity to call the Stanley Cup. And that was something that, is he their best broadcast or play-by-play guy? I have my questions. Let's be honest here. Jim Houston, while he's not a Foster Hewitt, or a Danny Gallivan, I think he was a cornerstone of Hockey Night in Canada for a prolonged period, and well respected, I think.
No, and again, whether or not you're happy he's retired, it all depends on who you ask, right?
Yeah, no, the thing is that he's a Vancouver guy. I don't understand why he can't just do the Vancouver games. That's what he did for the longest time before he came back to Hockey Night in Canada.
I was surprised they chose him to do Toronto games, basically.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly my point. Why can't he do, it is what it is, man. Live with what you live. Jim Houston, great memories with you. Good broadcaster. Let's go to baseball. 4 years after giving up as an outfielder, Indians' Anthony Goss. He is also a former Blue Jay, hits 100 miles per hour in his debut as a pitcher.
Yeah. So 9 years ago, we're going back to 2012. Nose was an outfielder with the Blue Jays. And
that's right.
Actually, one of the better prospects that we had. He was actually ranked 39th overall. MLB Pipeline had him at number 57, and Baseball Perspective at 68. But the unfortunate thing is he never really took off the way that we thought he would. So he was traded in 2014 to the Tigers. Didn't make an impact there. The Tigers designated him for assignments in 2017. And then finally he decided, I'm going to switch positions. I'll try to be a pitcher. And next thing you know, he's throwing 100 miles an hour like it's easy, which is kind of awesome. I'm glad to see that he has actually found his niche. I'll have to see where it goes.
Absolutely. If you think that I'm a little distracted, I am. I've got the Blue Jay game over here. Barucki just threw at a Tampa Bay player in the back, and the benches got cleared. So a little interesting goings on. And a great segue, I got to tell you. Blue Jays are losing 7-1. Back to some bad habits, Aaron. Pitchers not pitching well early, and the hitters leaving the bases loaded. This has been the kind of game that was the problem for the Jays early on in the season.
This was also supposed to be Hyunjin Ryu's next start, but unfortunately he's out with a neck strain. So it's a beautiful disaster right now of all sorts of unfortunate circumstances conspiring against the Jays.
Absolutely. And it looks like the Jays are taking the blame for this event. The pitching coach is really ticked. You can check it out after. It's got to see TV. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if you've heard that before. We never mentioned the NFL, but the Bills played terribly in the first game. And then they came back and beat Miami 35-0. Talk about angry. I mean, there's some teams that's angry. That's coming back angry.
That is definitely coming back with a little bit of grit and fire, and pardon the expression, a little bit of piss and vinegar too.
And still with football, it appears that the Argos do have a new defensive consultant.
Yes, you had actually covered this a couple weeks ago, I believe. And
it's official
we had mentioned
now
on our show. So, it's officially official. Then we can talk about it.
Yeah, it's official. I just thought I'd mention that. In pugilism. No, let me go back to soccer. Former TFC skipper Jim Brennan returns to BMO Field with York United FC.
Yeah, so Jim Brennan was actually Toronto FC's first ever signing and their first captain. So now he's the head coach and technical director at York United FC. They're part of the Canadian Premier League. So they're coming in to play TFC for the Canadian Championship quarterfinals. Now, Toronto, understandably, is looking forward to this game. They're 4-15-6. Which is not where you want to be if you're in MLS and, only 4 years removed from a title. That's where we're currently standing with that one. It's not a pleasant situation for TFC to be in, but it's also nice to see. One of the old names coming back for a bit of a hurrah.
There's definitely a reset required for that team.
Definitely.
Italian boxer of Moroccan origin beats rival with Nazi tattoos on him. What?
Yeah, so Hassan Nourdine is the Italian boxer of Moroccan descent. He was actually up for the super featherweight boxing title against Mikhail Broili, basically what happened is this fellow has a certain neo-Nazi support group that likes to follow him around and chant Heil Hitler. He also has the number 88 tattooed on his body, as well as 14 for the 14 words, an SS bolt, all that sort of fun stuff. The Italian Boxing Federation was actually sort of told, why are you letting this guy box? It's fairly obvious where he's coming from with all of this. And there are laws against this sort of thing. How was this fight actually sanctioned in the first place? After a fashion, I'm kind of glad that it did, because Nourdine beat him rather handily, apparently. So it's sort of a triumph of good over evil, but the Italian Boxing Federation is definitely under fire for allowing Broili to compete in the first place.
Absolutely. Let's move over to the Canadian election. Trudeau, of course, is staying in power. He is a minority. He has a minority government. Yeah, he fell short of majority. And, I was looking at how many votes, and the Conservatives weren't really that far behind the Liberals in votes, in total votes.
I mean, when you look at it, I don't think the actual intent was to win a majority. For years now, the NDP and the CPC have been saying, "Oh, we can do a better job. Just give us a chance." So Trudeau said, "Okay, well, you guys seem convinced that I'm doing a horrible job. I'm going to throw the floor open. You have 36 days to convince the Canadian people you can do a better job than me." The PPC also chimed up and said, "Hey, what about us? We can do a better job too. We're the only choice for patriotic Canadians." And nothing came out as they thought it would.
And not only that, the Bloc Québécois threw their support behind the Conservatives.
No, they certainly did. The obviously Legault was definitely cheering for at least a conservative minority. That way, the Bloc Québécois would be able to have a voice, a bigger voice in the government, and hold more sway.
Because?
Well, they would be needed to prop them up, and the Bloc Québécois share certain ideological similarities to the Conservative Party. So,
and Quebec has a history.
History
of being conservative. In fact, their contribution to the prime minister role in Canada, a lot of it is conservative PMs. Take a look at Mulroney.
Yep.
Absolutely. So moving on to our favorite topic. We have so much time left. Can we talk about something else? No. Dude, you get the feeling COVID's not my favorite subject. It really isn't. It really isn't. And if I can start by chewing some time up with vaccinations and basically all of us looking for a reason to move forward. Sporting events. I'm not looking forward to the game in Toronto on Friday. Because I'm very curious to see how many people are going to be there, how many will not be coming. I know quite a few who refuse to get vaccinated. I don't judge them, but getting vaccinated is not as popular as I would have thought it might be. But it's never been something, Aaron. If I can start the conversation on COVID and the stories that we have here, it's never been people saying, "Yeah, I think I want to get I want the vaccine." It's always been, "Oh my goodness, I guess I need to get the vaccine." Right? We don't have that anymore. You know what the hair I'm trying to split.
Yeah. No, I mean at this point, people are looking upon the vaccine as an item of last resort, and that's not the way it should be. It's never the way it should be.
And last resort it's a good way to put it. I'm not even sure it's any resort. I mean, for some, there's nothing. I don't think there's the only thing that we've learned, Aaron, over the past short little while, the people who don't believe in the vaccine, until someone right under their nose gets COVID, suffers through COVID, and then dies from COVID, do people like that change their mind? It seems.
My problem is that there seems to be an inordinately large number of people in my demographic, in my generation, who don't care. And it's almost as if a generation that has been raised to look after itself and look after number one will do the wrong thing when it comes to looking after society. Gen X has been horrific at this. And I look at my peer group and I look at the people in my demographic and I think to myself, how did you get so dumb? And I realize it's because it's all about them.
Yeah, well, I've been watching some stuff and being reminded of what it's like to be a parent and some of the pratfalls of being a parent. Parenting is not easy. Aaron, you're not a parent, so I'm sorry, I'm putting you at a disadvantage in the sense that there's no experience that you can share, but you can be you can be a voyeur. I mean it in a nice way, not in a horrible way. You can look over people's shoulders. I've come to the conclusion that a lot of the way parenting has changed, and much of how we have treated our children has come back to bite us. It really has. Helicopter parenting, participation trophies, trying really hard to be, fair-minded, good people, but being judgmental at the same time. I see well, look, there was a guy running for the Liberal Party, right? I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. I just saw this article and I was just shaking my head. And apparently he was charged with a sexual assault. The charges were withdrawn, right?
Yep.
And the Liberal Party abandoned him. They said, "Oh, you can't run for the Liberal Party." Can I ask you a question? If he was charged with something and there was no guilt involved, right? Because that's what the facts are. We can argue about, oh, well, he got away with one. We can argue that point. But the fact is, the charges were dropped, and yet he's still punished by the Liberal Party. That, to me, is the key of what you just talked about. It's that kind of mentality that raises people who don't think they should have the vaccine, because it's not about right and wrong. It's about me, and what I want. And give me what I want, or I'm going to start whining and start stomping my feet. So this guy can't run as a Liberal because he was charged with something, but nobody cares that he wasn't guilty. That is my beef. As far as what you're talking about. And this is the mentality we live in today, looking for blame, looking for, instead of being compassionate, understanding, and looking at the facts, we all make our own facts because we align ourselves with the group that we understand or are with, right? It's not about, we've seen this. It's what's happening in politics today. It's what happens in everything, it seems.
Yeah, and it is unfortunate. Now, the other thing that they were looking at here is the Defense Department also got involved because the charges came up when Vuong was a naval reservist.
Right.
So they wanted to make sure that he reported it through the chain of command. However, that portion is still under investigation by the military.
So he hid this fact from them.
I'm not 100% sure. That hasn't been clarified by the Department of Defense yet. Okay, so now Vuong was saying that he's fought these allegations because they're false, and the fact that they popped up 3 days before the election is deeply troubling. Then he would be withdrawing from the campaign to take some time with his family. I think he still won his riding, though.
I'm not sure. I don't know how it turned out, but yeah, I read the article, and Aaron, I'll just put it simply like this: if we are who people say we are, and it has nothing to do with who we are, what kind of world do we live in? Right? I mean, if you're a target, and just because you're a target, that means you gotta, it just, to me, it's cancel culture at its very best. That is cancel culture at its very best. It is why I literally have no respect for our prime minister. I have none. I did not vote Liberal. For the first time in my life, I did not vote Liberal. For the first time in my life. Why? Because the prime minister is a hypocrite and he is dishonest. And this is where his dishonesty is clear, where he judges people the way he doesn't want to be judged. He wore blackface. What's he doing as prime minister? He was caught. He was caught doing that. It's not that he was accused of going blackface and then oh no, he wasn't, and he got off. No, he didn't get off. He was guilty and he got off, and he's still in the party. But this other guy, it doesn't matter whether he's guilty or not. You're being accused about something that we just don't want to be attached to. It doesn't matter whether you're guilty or not. Yeah, it's worse than COVID. So let's get to COVID, all this fun stuff. Ford, oh, you know what? I ate all the time. Real quick, Ford. There was one story anyway. Ford.
Yeah, I was talking about how the vaccine actually doesn't care about your politics. Sorry, COVID-19 doesn't care about your politics. Ontario only had 574 new cases. So he says, I know many people are concerned about how everything's working and how everything's being impacted by this, but my conservative politics have nothing to do with me reopening, and shutting everything down has nothing to do with the Liberals. We're trying to do what's right.
Yeah, and doing right, I think, is more important than anything else. And you did a righteous job today on the show, buddy.
Thank you very much, Frank. You too.
Thank you. Aaron, thank you very much. For Aaron Williams Freeland, I am Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Candid Frank Live, Aaron, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And except for this Friday, it'll be on Saturday at 6 p.m. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Candid Frank Live, other news, entertainment, and sports programming we offer, please check out SpanglishWorld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thank you for watching. Ciao for now.